How's it going, parlay people? I got a pick here in this week 6 matchup, Seahawks versus Jags. If we look at this matchup, we got the pretty much even odds. The money line set at -110 for both teams. The spread at -1 in the Seahawks, so the Seahawks are a slight favorite. The total is set at 47.5 currently. If we look at this matchup, Jaguars are at home. This matchup to me is a 50-50 matchup like the books have it. I don't think there's really a lean really in any way, in my opinion. I think more to me, this is just more of a matchup that's very interesting, and I feel like I want to watch it more as a fan more than anything, rather than bet it. But definitely wanted to see which ways I can kind of get around it, and see just what I lean towards, and just other ways that I can find a way to break the book. So the Jags, like I said, are at home. The Jags are coming off two big wins in which they beat the 49ers, and then they beat the Chiefs just this last Monday. So both games are definitely, big wins that the Jags were underdogs. Now they're at home against the Seahawks. And then the Seahawks are actually coming off of a loss against the Bucks, in which the Seahawks were at home. But it was a big fight, pretty much a shootout, 35-38. The Bucks pretty much barely came ahead. So the Seahawks that I do think I like in a slight lean, this is just interesting, is the Seahawks are 2-0 away. They beat the Steelers and then they beat the Cardinals. Even though those teams aren't the most solid best teams, they are undefeated away. So that is interesting in this matchup. Like I said, they are away at Jacksonville. Both defense, I feel like, is going to be a key factor in this matchup. Both defense have been very good through this season. Seahawks have 7 interceptions. Their defense have 12.5 sacks. Just been a very consistent defense. And yes, they have injuries. They have 2 or 3 of their star defensive players out, or just kind of been questionable throughout the season. But they've pretty much found a way to be top 10, if not for sure top 15 defense, I feel like, in this league. So, but if you look at this Jacksonville Jaguars defense, has absolutely sparked this season. They have been a defense that I've just been absolutely impressed of. I was pretty high on this team going into the season, Jacksonville, but they've impressed me even more, I feel like, than they have. They have 10 interceptions through 5 weeks. 7.5 sacks is obviously, not as high as the Seahawks, but definitely, a little bit up there. They still get their pressure more. They have more sacks in games played. They have four forced fumbles and recovered. Basically have 14 takeaways through just 5 games. That's a number that is very hard to argue against. Followed those 14 takeaways, you have 8 out of those 14 where they scored those following drives. I think that's something that is important to look at, because even though you can get takeaways, it's what do you do afterwards with it. And like I said, they have 8 out of those 14 following drives that they've scored. I think that is a good number. I think that's an impressive number, and I think that's something that's going to be very important in this matchup if they do want to find a way to win this. It has just been a key thing in every matchup they've pretty much played this season. They had 3 against Bengals, even though they lost that game. And we see the 3 takeaways they got. They only scored on 1 of those drives, and like I said, they lost that game. So if we look at the other matchups where they've gotten these takeaways, they had a forced fumble against Houston, in which the following drive was a game-winning drive. That's a very important one. And then they followed up with a pretty much nail in the coffin, as well as they had 4 turnovers and 17 points off those turnovers against 49ers, in which a game that they won. And then we seen that 99-yard pick 6 against the Chiefs that allowed the Chiefs to pretty much stop their momentum. The Jags overall pulled away with that game. So that's just 3 examples where they were able to make something out of these turnovers, those 3 games, and they've pulled away and won those games. And then that one example where they had 3 takeaways and they were only found a way to score once and they lost against the Bengals. So that is going to be something that is very important in this matchup if Jacksonville expects to win this game at home, is what are they going to do when they when they get that turnover? What are they going to do with it? Are they going to score a field goal? Are they not going to score? Are they going to run the clock? Are they going to score a touchdown? What is their plan after they've received that turnover? That Bengals game was earlier than all these ones I read off after the fact. So the good thing is we've seen they've improved. So like I've said, this defense for this Jacksonville has impressed me beyond expectations. So Seahawks, they will turn the ball over. It's just how will they respond after they turn the ball over? We've seen this Jacksonville's defense be too well on getting these turnovers, like I said. So I just expect Seahawks to try to be calm, composed. They have a very good defense. I think their defense holds each other accountable. I think that they are a defense that can bounce back very well. I think that they're going to be able to negate those turnovers. Like I said, Seahawks will turn the ball over. I think that the question is, will their defense, Seahawks defense, respond to be able to stop Jacksonville? And I think they will be. I think that their defense is that good. I think they had a slight hiccup just last week against the Bucks, but man, Baker Mayfield's just looking like an MVP. That Bucks team in general is just looking like money. So it's kind of hard to judge when it's a team like that. So if we are looking at just my picks for this game, I would lean slightly to Seahawks money line. It's a pretty much even game. Yes, I did read a lot about Jacksonville and how they have been good with those turnovers and what they've done with it. To me, Seahawks, they are good on the road, and I think even though they haven't had the best game last week, I think that this is more of a must win for them. And I am a fan of the Seahawks offense and defense. I am a fan of Jackson and Jigba and Cooper Kupp at slot. I am a fan of Sam Darnold and him being able to revamp his career in multiple places. Even this young coach I'm a fan of, and especially this defense as a whole, I'm a big fan of. This is a matchup that is a 50-50, so that it is a slight lean to Seahawks, so nothing big, nothing I feel really too crazy about. I would lean towards that under if I had to, that 47.5 number. Like I said, I think that hiccup last week of that 38 points given up to the Bucks, there's nothing to expect from the Seahawks. I think that it's a bit of an overreaction, that 47.5. The Jaguars, they have 3 games out of the 5 where they've went under that 47.5. So I definitely could see this number being a lot more of a low scoring game. And as well as we can't forget that Trevor Lawrence hasn't been the best at holding this ball and not turning it over. He has 5 interceptions through these 5 weeks. I do see with the fact that the Seahawks do have 7 interceptions, they have been very well at putting the pressure and having a lot of sacks. I do see Trevor Lawrence as well throwing the interception. That's another player prop I like. It's set at minus 160, so it is a little bit higher. But I do expect him to throw interception and turn the ball over just as much as I expect the Seahawks to turn the ball over. I'm not sure if you can find player props where you can just have Seahawks to turn the ball over just in general. I would lean more towards that, but if not, I do see Sam Darnold throwing the interception. Yes, he only has 3 through the season, but we've seen Patrick Mahomes this last week only have 1 interception through 10 games or 10 plus games, or 0 interception, through 10 games, and 1 interception through like 18 games, and we've seen what happened. So I do believe this Jacksonville defense is that good. I do expect them to get an interception off Sam Darnold, and that is set at minus 109. So it is a little bit of a more lower set player prop. So those are my picks for this matchup. Those are the ones I'm leaning more towards. Like I said, this is more of a game that I'm more excited to see as a fan more than put money on. But if I did have to lean towards something, those would be what I would lean towards. So please comment and like. Definitely subscribe. It helps me out. I'm going to try to get to as much games as I can Sunday. and try to beat the shit out of the book. So I guess see you guys Sunday.